So, it's been a week since I did that solo run through, and if you want to know, yeah, I lost the game. Lost it by about 8 points. But that's why I don't show all of my solo run throughs, because you don't want to see how bad I am at gaming, because it's kind of embarrassing. So we've gone trekking through the national park, we've gone trekking through the world, and now we're going trekking through history. And that's the game we're going to be playing today, Trekking Through History by Underdog Games. And we're going to be doing a solo run through of this game. And boy, oh boy, it's an absolute cracker. So look, let's get into what do we have in front of us here. Well, this is our main playmat, neoprene playmat. Kind of love that, very sexy. Obviously scoring there, we're going to have 3 rounds played over 3 separate deck of cards. So they're eras of cards there. So this is the first era out here. We're going to have some ancestors. Perhaps we're going to be going back in time and visiting our ancestors. We've got our itinerary. We're going to be scoring all these resources to go on our itinerary. And this is going to be one of the ways where we're going to be scoring points. But the other way is by going in chronological order. We're going to be building decks in front of us. And the bigger the deck we get, the more points we get. If we have, say, 10 in our deck, we're going to get 30 points. So a massive way for us to score points there. Over this side, this is going to be where the solo is. So this is the solo that comes with an easy, medium, hard, extreme. We're going to be playing a medium today. And this is going to be the way that the solo mode is going to be scoring points. So it's against an AI bot. Now what else we got? We've got our time crystal here. We've got a crystal, our crystal tank and time crystal. We've got our time. Now this is a clock. We're going to be spending 12 hours. Once we go around the clock, we're going to finish the day, and that's going to be the end of that round. And lastly, in the middle here is a time warp. Now it's a little expansion you can choose to play with. I always love it. I dig little expansions like this. Now, let's start off. What do we need to know first? So the first thing we need to know, obviously we're talking about building our sets from chronological order. So we're going to be trying to plan that. But as we get these cards, we're also going to be getting different resources. And when I fill up my resources, we're going to get certain things. So if I fill up this one right here, I'm going to get another time crystal. If I fill up this entire row, I'm going to get 10 points, and so on and so forth. Now, what is our time warp for this round? It is choose 2 history cards from the departures row, gain them, but do not gain the additional benefits. So normally what we would do would also get these benefits down the bottom, but in this instance, we won't get that. Now this is going to be a one-time only use, and look, obviously the solo bot can't do it, and that's why solo starts with a 5-point advantage. So I'm going to crack on here, and the first thing I'm thinking about doing here is I want to obviously go BCE. So if you know time, you know the bigger the number of BCEs, the further back in time, and obviously I want to start back as far as possible to give me the most amount of time to be able to try and build up my deck. So we got one here, 2000 BCE, so that's not bad. Now, on the card here, you're going to see amount of time, and that's how many hours it's going to spend for me to take that card. Now, I can always spend one of my time crystals to take off 1 hour. But in this instance, that's not bad. I can just spend 2 hours, I get a blue and a yellow. I think we might do that right now. So we're going to start off nice and early, 2000 BCE. So we are going back. We're going to take a dip in the Great Bath. Look, we're dirty, dirty people. We need a bath, and we're going to do that in 2000 BCE. So let's spend our 2 hours, 1, 2, and we're going to get a blue, and we're going to get a yellow. Now, obviously, these all have names, but at the end of the day, you just need to know what colors they are. So a blue, I'm going to cover up my blue there, and I'm going to cover up my yellow. Now, you're going to see if this itinerary, every round, I'm going to be able to choose a different itinerary. But for this round, this is what I've got. And mostly I've got lots of yellows. So I'm going to have to think about trying to get lots of yellows over the course of this round. So we move these across. Okay, so we've done that. We've started now with my first trekking through history. Now, solo mode, what they're going to try and do is trying to pick the earliest card they possibly can. So in this instance, 1772 BCE is the oldest card. And that's what they're going to start off with. They're going to spend 3 hours. Now, one thing to note, for this medium solo, when taking a history card with cost of 4 or more hours, the historian attempts to spend their time crystals to reduce that cost to 3. So just something we need to keep in the back of our mind. So in this instance, we're not over 4 there, so we're at 3 hours. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and they're just going to get a red and a green. So again, you cover up the most one you can there. So firstly, you're going to notice here on the green, we're going to cover up a crystal. So Solo bot, just gonna call it solo bot, gets another time crystal there. Now my turn. What should we go? Obviously the next most one here is 1472, and it's going to get me a red and a blue, or I could go for 450 BCE. It would cost me 4 hours, but I'd get a yellow, green, and red. I think in this instance, let's go with this one. So 1472 BCE, going to cost me 2 hours. Now the other thing to notice is whoever's furthest back on the track is taking that next turn. So that's something else to think about there. So it cost me 2 hours, and it's going to give me a red and a blue. Now, you're going to notice now I filled up all of my blue on my itinerary. So now I'm trying to think forward about getting cards that don't have blue on them. So all these sort of things going through your head as you're playing. So that is my turn. Now it is the solo bot's turn. Again, they're going for the earliest possible one, which is going to be 450 BCE. Now, this instance now, it will be 4 hours, but they're going to try and reduce it by 1 to get it down to 3. And there we go. They spent a crystal and it cost them 3 hours. 2, 3, and they're going to get a yellow, green, and a blue. As you can see, really simple upkeep for the bot. I really appreciate this bot. And now they finished their first row here. So they got red, blue, and yellow. And now all of a sudden, as you go across in a row, it's saying to lose a crystal. But that's not the bot losing it, that's me losing my crystal. So I should have been smarter and should have used my crystal pretty early on, just noting that was going to be there. So look, that's me playing dumb, but hopefully I'll learn from that one. So we've now done the bot's turn. Let's have a look. Now I'm also thinking about, let's not forget about my little time warp here. Choose 2 history cards from the departures row, gain them, but do not gain the additional benefits. Now, what I might do is maybe now's a good time to potentially use that, because I could use this one, 500 BCE, but then after that it jumps up massive, and the next one would be 1300. Remember, I don't want blues, so blues don't help me. There's blues on pretty much most of them, so they're not ideal. So maybe for now, let's just spend this one here. It's going to be 4 hours, which is pretty big. I would have used my time crystal, but unfortunately, let's go with this. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 500 BCE. And that gets me a yellow and a purple. Oh, sorry, a yellow and a wild. So that's the one thing to note, purple, they're wilds. I was about to sort of mention that. Now here we go, yellow, I get to cover up a crystal. So at least I gain one of my crystals back there. Now the wild, I can choose wherever I want to spend this. Now I'm thinking, I definitely by the end of this round, I need to obviously get these 10 points here. So let's put it over the green. And now I've only got to get a yellow and green to get that 10 points. Now, the bot. The earliest possible one they can get there is going to be 1300. So they're going to grab that card, which doesn't bother me because it has a blue. I don't really need blue. And that's going to cost them 3 hours, 2, 3, and they're going to get, oh, let's have a look, blue and a yellow. I better do that before I move them down. Blue and a yellow. Now, when you notice the blue here, you're going to see they're going to gain 3 points. So 1, 2, 3, and yellow. Now, what is coming out next? 500 BC. These two I'm definitely eyeing off now. This one here would get me a red and a purple, but this one would get me a red and red. But what I'm thinking, now's the perfect time to use this. So what I might do, I'm going to choose 2 history cards from the departures row, gain them, but do not gain the additional benefits. Now, I'm only losing that 1 red from that additional benefit there. But I'm going to grab both of these cards. So remember, on this, it only cost me, well, it's going to cost me 4, which isn't bad. 1, 2, 3, 4. But what that would do is that would send me right to the end here. Now, because I stopped right on the end, right on 12 o'clock, I get a bonus 3 points. So first of all, let's give me those 3 points there. Now, let's have a look. So 347 would be next, followed by 342. So remember, I'm going to get a red, and a wild. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get my 10 points, so I probably didn't play that smart. But anyway, that's how you live and learn in this game. And unfortunately, not very efficient at all. Or maybe we should. Let's do a mulligan. Let's do a mulligan. Let's actually spend my time crystal and they'll just reverse me 1 hour and I lose my 3 points, but it's going to give me one more chance. And remember, I need a green to get that 10 points. So gave myself a cheeky mulligan. I only get 1 mulligan a game, but that's my mulligan. I've used it now. And now the bot's turn. Let's go with 1300. Next one's going to be 1385. They're going to spend 3 hours, 1, 2, 3, and they're going to stop right there, and they're going to gain a blue and a blue. And they gain another time crystal. Okay, so remember now, I haven't reached 12 o'clock because I had my mulligan. I went back to 11 o'clock, so I have one more turn up my sleeve. Now, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to stop right on 12 o'clock, which is a shame, but what I will be able to do is make sure I get that green. If I can get a green and a yellow, that would actually get me 14 points. 10 points for finishing that row and 4 points for covering that. So does anything have a green and a yellow? Well, this one's not bad. It's going to get me a green and a wild. Unfortunately, that is the only one. So I'm going to have to jump up fairly big here. So let's sort of shrink these down. I'm going to jump all the way to 1587 now. So that is going to cost me 5 hours. Well, I stop at 12 and it's going to get me a blue, a green, a wild, and a crystal. Okay, so let's now think about being smart here. Well, the blue I can't use, so that's going to go back, that's a waste. But remember, a green here gets me now to 10 points, and also going to put my wild over the 4, so that's going to gain me 14 points. So look, it was worth it, but it was a massive jump up from 342 BCE now to 1587. So now it's going to cause me a few problems when I'm trying to go really big treks. Okay, so that is the end of that round. Well, there's no point sort of doing this because we're now going to actually get rid of all of these cards. And let's move on to round 2 and we'll get the next era of decks out. This review, what we're going to be talking about is trekking through history and what are the pros, what are the cons, and why do you need this in your collection? So let's touch on all of that and let's just get straight into it. Now, pros, 3 massive pros for me right here, straight away. Solo. Simple itinerary, massive long itinerary, and it is so well balanced. It's placed so well, so little upkeep, yet you feel like you're playing against an opponent. And I truly cannot get enough of how good this solo is. This is gonna be like in my probably top 20 solo experiences, solo games in my collection. I really rate this solo, and I don't know why. It's a light game. Yet the solo felt so enthralling. I really was taking on an opponent, and I love that's my favorite type of solo, and it's probably why I really enjoyed it. Now, next up, the artwork is insane. These are all the cards that you're going to get there, and there are so many, and each one of them has individual artwork. It flows so amazing. I'm assuming it's the same artist all the way through, and there is so much work here. They did not muck around, and I really appreciate that. The amount of games now that reuse artwork and they try and skip corners, not this game. Hundreds of individual artwork on cards. Now, next thing, have a look at this. On the back, they actually, hopefully you can see that, they give you story about, so this one, much to the salt works with Gandhi. I didn't know Gandhi much to the salt works. Anyway, there's a whole bit of the spiel there. Look, I haven't got my glass on, so I can't read it, but there's definitely stuff there. This actually teaches you history. Like, in a way, when I think of board games, I think of actually teaching you something. There's not many games out there that you're truly going to learn a lot from, and this is a game you can learn a lot from. There's so much stuff here. What do we got? Write play with William Shakespeare in 1601. I didn't know William Shakespeare was even around that time because I'm big Dumbo and I don't do enough study. I should do more. Maybe I want to study the blade with a samurai in 1640. Cool, so Shakespeare and samurais were around the same time. Maybe I want to march with Joan of Arc. I know Joan of Arc's pretty cool, but she's 1429. Amazing history, incredible artwork, absolute highlight, artwork, history, and just that extra effort to put a story in behind there. Blown away. Production, that is my last positive. Production, neoprene mat here, come on, like just, you chuck neoprene in a game, I'm gonna love it 10 times more than if you don't put neoprene in. I'm the world's biggest neoprene fan. So anyway, I'm probably being blinded by the beauty of neoprene, but what about these? Nice little case for all your things here. You can You can hear that. Insert, lovely looking insert there. All your stuff sits in there nicely. Even the neoprene mat sits in there perfectly. What about all of the itineraries? There's a lot of itineraries there. That's again, they're going the extra mile. Look, production, art, solo, they're the three positives. So what are the cons? Well, I guess this is a light game. But I don't want to call it a con because it's a light game. I think light games have a place in most collections. Not every game has to be a Lacerda. Not every game has to be, friggin', what do we got? Vindication, Perseverance, ISS Vanguard. Not every game has to be epic. Sometimes having a light game is amazing. And in fact, my solo, what did I get it in at, like 35 minutes or something? It's pretty good. That's a good night out. So look, light isn't a negative, but I think what's gonna happen is it's the lack of decisions that is probably gonna be the negative. Now, for the most part, you're always looking at what that next number is because you wanna get as many in your trek, there are as many cards into that trek, and you're always looking for the next closest card. Now, perhaps that's gonna give you the right resources, perhaps. Remember, each itinerary is different and you've got to aim for that. So there is some decision making there, but especially at the start, your very first decision is always going to be to go for that closest year card. So you can try and maximize the amount of cards in your trek. So I think the lack of decision space, especially early on in your itinerary, because at the start, you're not really focusing too much on whatever colors comes in, great. So yeah, maybe that's a negative there. And I think the last negative is, while I think this is a perfect family game, it wasn't a perfect family game for us. So I played this multiple times solo, loved it, played it a couple times, played it twice with the family, and this is where I only played it twice with the family because the kids didn't want to play it again after that. Whereas me and my partner, we loved it, we played it again, and it was great at 2-player and we loved that experience, but the kids didn't enjoy it as much as the adults, and that seems weird because normally a lighter game like this would be, I guess, getting the kids on board, but for whatever reason, maybe because it felt like work for them, maybe they came home from school and went, do you know what, you're forcing me to study here. No, I can see through your plan. And it just didn't gel with them as much. Again, they didn't hate it, but they didn't ask to play it again, whereas I kept wanting to play it, especially solo, I kept wanting to play it. So again, your audience, maybe, look, I think it's still a good family game, but for the right sort of family, maybe older kids, your older teenagers, this is the one it's going to be for, and for your partner, because your partner's going to love this. You're going to love the artwork. He or she going to absolutely dig it. Going around, fighting over the clock, going around the 12 hours. Again, another decision space that you don't really think that hard about, but it's there. So I think that's the pros and cons. Now, who is this game for? I'm gonna say, because I love the solo so much, this is for people who love games like Calico, Cascadia. I love those smaller, light to medium weight games, picturesque on the table, but I play a lot of those games solo. I'm playing a lot more solo now than I ever have before, and this fits into that genre. I absolutely dug this solo. Appreciate the bot, appreciate the game. So that's who it's for. People who like light to medium weight solo experiences. I think that is the chef's kiss audience right there. So look, that is pretty much all I have. I just, rambled on. Like I said, been a week since I did that solo run through, so hopefully the world hasn't fallen apart in that week. And yeah, that's my thoughts on trekking through history. If you like this video, how about giving it a cheeky little thumbs up? That's what I would do, but yeah, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Anyway, laters.